By the book, Chapter 8, Ghosts of a Thousand Voices. Rocky was the first to see it. His dark eyes watched as his ship changed, even as she placed the box carefully on the table. Then the engineer sensed something and stopped playing with his food, his face turning to concern. He knew more than most about how carefully the AI avatars mimicked organics in form and function, but he never allowed himself to forget exactly who he was talking to. Now he absent-mindedly checked his list of tells and found none. The avatar was standing right before him, but the ship wasn't. This was the shell she kept in a cupboard for occasions like today, and nothing and no one could pull her from there unless she wanted to go. He half turned to Rocky and got a slight nod. He saw it too. As the only silicon species in the company, Rocky always kept an eye open for the organic's strange and frankly bizarre behaviors. This was a new one. He decided to play for time and gently pushed the angry swarm crewman back into his seat. If a creature the weight of Rocky wanted you to sit down, then down you sat. He held up his hand in the universal sign for peace and said, "Relax. Today there will be plenty of misunderstandings. People will probably write entire novels on how we could have done this better. I have a better idea than fighting. I think we should take advantage of my captain's generosity and share this lovely gift that he has sent over." The engineer took the hint, and the two of them began pulling bottles out of the box. This was the ship's personal collection, part of the AI's learning curve on how to behave in human company. Typical that she brought her homework to a first-contact situation as politically loaded as this one. He loved her dearly, but she really needed to polish her social skills. He wrenched the cork from a rather fine single malt that he was about to waste on the ignorant. "This is from my home planet Earth. It's the product of thousands of years of trial and error, and we regard it as one of our cultural treasures." If he recalled the briefing, then none of these Xenos would actually explode on contact with ethanol, but he was willing to risk it. "Allow us to share it with you in the spirit of friendship." And while his damn ship was off somewhere, eventually even the dimmest Xeno would notice that she hadn't moved or spoken. The two captains had been deep in discussion with a careful eye on the crew as they discussed the future when the human seemed to trail off and fall silent. His eyes seemed to sharpen at whatever he was seeing his crew do, and then lost focus. Then his face seemed to darken and he swore something untranslatable. The librarian had no idea of the context or the issue, but something had clearly disturbed the large creature. Then he saw the knife. What in the seven hells was his staff doing? He found himself babbling apologies. "Captain, my people, we don't use weapons. I have no idea. I'm so sorry. Please let me." He stood up to his full height and pulled himself together. "I'm so sorry, Captain. Please allow me to deal with whatever has possessed a crew member to attack a guest, particularly guests as important as you all seem to be." He began edging towards the door even as the human stood and absent-mindedly grasped the hilt of that very, very large blade. That seemed to recall the human back into the room, and he found himself the unwelcome focus of a clearly unhappy giant. Oh, that's just culture shock. Rocky is pretty much indestructible. He'll be fine. Give them a minute or two to sort it out, and they'll be friends for life. I just had some unexpected news from home, a simple matter of bad timing. However, I think you are correct. Perhaps it's time we went and reassured everyone that all is well with the universe." The librarian wasn't entirely confident that his translator was getting all the subtleties, but he was willing to bet that someone in the universe had just pissed off this human, and that they were probably going to find out about it quite soon. At least it didn't appear to be him. The human waved open the door and hesitated. "Do you need a different hat? We have time." Dragon of Hidden Things swept back into her former ship and immediately ordered her avatar home. She began clearing her data from the ship and preparing to deal with her former crew. It had been made clear that a new AI would be immediately replacing her, and she needed to ship out without discussion. Her new mission, her new self, and even her new name could not be discussed. There would be none of the common courtesies given or received, and the XCCC would explain, bribe, or threaten anyone that stood in her way. The shuttle was to be appropriated for her effects, and other ships would be tasked with returning them to her, eventually. Probably. In the meantime, she would leave by data transmission to her new post and receive her full orders there. She could feel the slow-boiling anger of her previous captain from across the vacuum of space. Another fantastic success in diplomacy to add to her record. It didn't help that the AI known as untested ideas would be recorded as dismissed for cause, retired. An ignominious end to a short career that no one would even question. Time for her new life as a ghost to begin. You. The engineer was happily pouring out large measures of Earth's solution to everything, and regaling the slightly stunned and confused crew with tall tales and promises of vast riches. Rocky followed the conversation with half an ear as he watched the avatar stare blankly across the table. Then some new commands arrived, and it turned and silently left the room. Definitely Ennet and not a her. The humans were up to something again. The two captains arrived, and the unexpected party stalled for a moment as both crews recognized that something was about to happen. The librarian was the first to speak. It was still his ship, after all, and raised both arms in praying for constructive silence. I have confirmed with our equipment that the human speaks truly. We are far into the future in a blessed time of peace and prosperity in the galaxy. We've been fortunate to have missed some of the cruelty of the past, but unfortunately not all. Some of you have been given new purposes, sacred missions beyond anything this ship and its quiet honor can offer. The library ships still sail, our mission respected and protected as always. The crewman that had been so roughly handled began to try and rise again, only to discover that his legs were perfectly happy where they were and refused. He raised his voice instead. Honored scholar, where is my queen? Why am I a single voice? Where are my people? The Huans machine said they killed her. This raised a murmur among crewmen that were asking the same question. The human captain stepped forward, dwarfing the scholar. Peace. I have a story to tell, one that I hope has a happy ending, but certainly has a terrible beginning. Several centuries ago, a queen was betrayed. A new queen, unfamiliar with a secret that would rend the galaxy to war. She was blinded by her fellow queens and her people stolen and sent to commit genocide against a new race. Us, humans. Newly arrived and full of joy, we were unprepared, and our world was murdered by her dark ships. The captain had a knack for tales, and the table, including his own crew, were now absorbed. He picked up a free glass and took a sip. It was expected that we would burn the queen and her people out of grief and vengeance, an act designed to discredit us among the worlds as barbarians. Those that plotted war had chosen truly. We are a warring people when we have dead that demand answers or when those that seek peace are victimized. But we were not fools. We rescued the broken queen and took her to a new world where we allowed her to rebuild her stolen people. Then those that had betrayed her and hidden their hate raised their peoples to war and sought our destruction. Not just us, but all those that they called single-minded or worse. We had lost millions already and recognized the attempted genocide for what it was. Those blinded by the hope and lies of peace fell first, even as we tried to raise the galaxy to defend itself. We saved what we could and took arms against the threat. And so time passed, people against people. No logic, no compassion, just war. For a lifetime we fought and died. For a lifetime we raised war against our enemies and sought their destruction. We found allies and rescued those that we still count as friends. The dead are uncountable, beyond imagination. Worlds burned and queens fell until an angry silence held on the new borders. Then the appearance of peace nearly destroyed us, as it had so many others, as we were a people so tired of war that even a violent and corrupt peace seemed better than more death and killing. We were awoken from our uneasy rest by a voice from the past. We realized that we had simply stood upon the sand as the tide grew closer. A new call rang out, and we raised an army of steel and blood. All of human life pointed to war once again. The stolen queen had sought her own vengeance, engineering a way to break the bonds that had filled space with mindless fanatics. Together we brought the war to a brutal and final end. The new peace was one of justice, or at least we think so anyway. Our fleets were sent elsewhere and our armies disbanded. The swarm peoples became independent once they achieved maturity and saw no reason to murder in the name of purity. We became the seeds of a new galaxy, one that no longer blindly seeks peace but builds and maintains it. Where the price of war is known, that is the galaxy that you now live in. He took a deeper drink this time. For some of you, 9 of you to be exact, this is where the tale grows even darker. Many peoples fell into oblivion, lost to time and the damned war. Swarm worlds died hard, but they did die. It doesn't matter how deep you dig if there is no pity, no weapon too terrible to use. Your people are lost. You are the last of your kind, and it was my people that did that to you. Appalled silence filled the room. Rocky watched in confusion as his captain took responsibility for a war he had never seen and recounted a history that even his own people had half forgotten. It had never occurred to him why his pet humans were always telling stories, always wistfully changing the past or inventing unlikely futures. He had questions. The crewman swayed in his seat and spat out, "So my queen is dead." He waved his hand at the table. "We are all dead, we just haven't stopped moving yet." He poured the whiskey on the floor and dropped the glass. It just bounced because only humans would foolishly bring real glass onto a spaceship. The captain nodded. "Could be. I wasn't around for the war, maybe it was unjust, maybe it doesn't matter. There are people out there who don't carry fond memories of your people. You might have burned their homeworlds or eaten their children. A lot of strange things happened. I do know that they will seek you out to make damn sure your people are dead for good this time." He reached out and placed a fresh glass in front of the disgruntled crewman. "But the story isn't over yet." He filled the glass. "So humans carried a certain weight in the galaxy. We were certainly the most heavily armed, definitely the ones that had paid the highest price in blood and treasure. It could have been a terrible thing, except that that same voice that had awoken us from our sleep reminded us that we had been filled with hope. That once upon a time, all our people had wanted to do was to wander around and see the marvels of the universe. We didn't want an empire, human or otherwise. We wanted that dream back. So we stood with bloodied hands and tried to build it." The engineer stepped in and refilled the captain's glass, as entranced as everyone else. He had skipped out on history in college. "The queens we had captured during the war were hidden away. Not many survived, not without their people to serve them. But enough did, enough to make a plan in peace even if we had failed in war. They agreed to allow their people to adapt, and we gave them new worlds. Those that we found after the war were given into their custody. That includes people like yourselves. Plenty of ships were found lost, bereft of a queen that had died on the other side of the galaxy. We didn't have a clue what to do with them, and it seemed unnecessary to slaughter them out of hand. After some time, I have no idea how long, the queens asked for new worlds. They had figured out a way to take the genetic material and memories from any survivors and clone a queen. It wasn't perfect then, and it still isn't. But if you are willing, you will become the fathers of your races. Your queens will awaken with the full memories of your people. You will be given new worlds and the resources of our people to build them. There is no cost, no price for this. All of us paid in advance a long time ago." Another crewman spoke up. He had remained silent as the story had played out and considered all that he must have lost. "Vassals? Slaves? What would you have all of us become in this great new galaxy of yours? And it is yours if I stand alone. If my people fell, then I should have fallen with them. If my queen is gone, then you can offer me no magic, no miracle to replace her. If our time is done, then so am I. I will raise no serfs for alien lords, nor curse a false queen to servitude. Will you allow me that choice, O master of all? Or am I simply my genetics now? A salve to some ancestral guilt, penance for a forgotten murder?" The captain was about to answer when Rocky interrupted, the strange nuclear power that sustained him now a burning light in his eyes. "Forgive me. I know your people, and you do not know humans. They would feel your loss as if they were your queen. They are a people that have raised arms against slavers until they must hide in deep tunnels and pray the humans don't find them. Vassals are handed an army and a fleet until their conquerors are destroyed. You weren't there when they offered the galaxy an open hand and then saw their worlds burn. You weren't there when their people wept and built weapons to terrify nations. You weren't there when they melted them down to make toys for our children and cities for the dispossessed. I was... Die if you must, but know you are as big of a fool as your queen was to take arms against kindness." The glow seemed to fade for a moment. I know your kindred. You have a queen that lives. A queen whose great-grandparent was betrayed by her own and saved by the humans. She will raise her voice if you call, but she does not know you, and your species only trust one people enough to open up to strangers. The captain can do it for you, and you will hear the truth from her yourself. No doubt you will be welcomed home with open arms." The captain had simply waited as his Xeno officer made points that hadn't occurred to him. "However, this is an offer. I have no right or reason to compel anyone on this ship. I have offered to simply repair your drives and allow you on your way, but know this. All library ships are under our protection. A not inconsequential fleet is on its way here to ensure your safety. Those who are willing to rebuild their people and face a new future will be offered travel to the Queen's planets and guarded until they can face the galaxy alone. Those that choose to walk out of an airlock will answer only to their own captain and their own conscience. You are all on this ship to spread knowledge. What more important thing can you teach the galaxy than the true history of your people? Quantity has a quality all of its own. Never had Dragon felt this so much as she transmitted herself off the ship. She was forced to piggyback off every beacon and dark ship to even get close to her destination. Trust the XCC to have lined up a completely accidental network capable of flinging her entire database across the galaxy and never mention it once. It was still taking forever. She hoped that whoever had replaced her had a shorter trip or better systems. Captain Gaynor bowed to the librarian and smiled. Captain, it has been a pleasure, but I have business on my own ship to attend to. I'll leave my staff here to sort out the details and answer questions. I suspect it might take a while. Contact me whenever you wish. We don't need any decisions made today, at least. In the meantime, your ship is under my protection and shouldn't be disturbed. Farewell.